Well, I certainly struck a nerve with progressive Pramila Jayapal over the weekend. Jayapal went on a Twitter rampage and got ratioed while doing it because I had the audacity to be concerned about Islam.
The word, and with a decree of yours, you will annihilate them.
Jayapal thinks that my pointing out the treatment of women in Tehran is a form of bigotry. She's the head of the Progressive Caucus, which is apparently a group dedicated to progress as long as it doesn't involve criticizing a religion that hates women. She's tweeting about Islamophobia while women in Iran are being stoned to death for the crime of showing their hair. She's a kind of feminist who stands up for the right of a man to dunk on a girl in the WNBA, but stays silent when a girl in Kabul is banned from going to school. We all saw the interview with Dana Bash where the mask finally slipped off, and it was bad. Bash asked her about Hamas using rape as a weapon of war, and Jayapal gave us the most expensive butt in the history of cable news. She said that rape is horrific, but we have to be balanced.
I said it's horrific, and I think that rape is horrific, sexual assault is horrific. However, I think we have to be balanced.
Unbelievable, really, as a woman, that another woman would say that. Balance between what, Pramila? Balance between what, exactly? Is there a pro-rape lobby in the Progressive Caucus? Jayapal spent years telling us that believe all women was the law of the land until the women in question were Jewish. Now she's a feminist who cheers on a theology that treats women like property. She's more concerned about the feelings of the terrorists than the bodies of their victims. She probably wants women covered head to toe with only their eyeballs.
I wanted to go to Cuba myself.
She spent her time in Cuba meeting with the president, Miguel Diaz-Canel, while the streets were dark from a fuel shortage. Jayapal came home and wrote an editorial praising the Cuban healthcare system like she was reviewing a 5-star resort on TripAdvisor. It's a bold move to lecture Americans on democracy after getting a standing ovation from a newspaper run by the Communist Party. She's out there arguing that the U.S. blockade is an economic bombing, while the regime she's visiting is the one actually dropping the ball on its very own people. She wasn't alone in her love for Cuba's communism, nor was she alone while she was there. She took the Cuba trip with her friend, Hassan Piker, who was in Havana for a solidarity convoy that looked more like a field trip for people who think the Cold War was just a simple misunderstanding. Jayapal's friend Hassan Piker is the one who famously told his audience that America deserved 9/11.
America deserved 9/11.
Piker's the kind of guy who calls Hamas a lesser evil while he's sitting in a room cooled by American air conditioning. In fact, he once stated he'd prefer to vote for Hamas. Jayapal has been out there campaigning with him because apparently the Progressive Caucus is looking for endorsements from people who probably believe the Taliban have a few good ideas. She's hanging out with a guy who framed the falling of the Twin Towers.
You have Abdul al-Sayed, who was campaigning with Hassan Piker, who said America deserved 9/11. Yes, we should be very concerned.
He said he regretted those comments, but I take your point.
You cannot claim to love democracy while you're auditioning for a role in a communist regime. You cannot claim to protect women while you're making excuses for the people who want to erase them, rape them, and even kill them. We're being led by people who find the American flag offensive, but find a Cuban dictatorship quite remarkable. Hypocrites and idiots, all of them. They use our freedom to advocate for the systems that would take all of that away. If you are more offended by the truth than a Cuban firing squad, you have totally lost your way. If you love communism so much, Jayapal, stay in Havana. Enjoy the mojitos.